Now, what is the fire of God? I will try to give you 3 definitions quickly. The first definition for the power of God is an unending passion for his presence, not for work. It's an unending zeal for the presence of God. It said the zeal of my father's house, not the zeal for service. The zeal of my father's house has consumed me. In John chapter 2 verse 17, the zeal. A man can be preaching, he's not on fire. I'm preaching very well. A man can be singing, he's not on fire. When the fire of God is on your life, you are obsessed about the presence of God. You are literally obsessed. It becomes even difficult for you to leave the presence of God to do something else. God will have to push you to go out and serve him. You will be so obsessed about God that God becomes your all experientially, not what you say, who you are. The zeal of the Lord will eat you up. But I was sharing yesterday and I told them close to 90% of believers have no walk with God. Because even though we are praying loud, shouting and doing a lot of activity, very few are still burning for God. In the days of our fathers, many of them went to sleep on mountains 7 days every month, some 14 days every month. And I'm not saying go to the mountain, because you can do it in your bedroom. But these guys were obsessed about God. When they sat down and they are talking, it's always about God. What God did to them, what God showed them. Every month somebody carries his bag. Every weekend he has gone to the mountain. On Monday he's coming back, and he's coming back to go to work. They were not idle. They were doing this. There was so much energy, because when they go there, they come back refreshed. Somebody can come from work and do a vigil alone in his bedroom from night till morning. You will hardly find Christians now that do individual vigils. Even when we come for corporate vigil, we use 1 hour to add drama. We use 3 hours for praise and worship. We use 4 hours for other things. Then we use 30 minutes to pray, because we don't have men that have stamina to contend in the spirit. So we look for all sorts of distraction. And even with that 1 hour of drama, 2 hours of dancing, some people are still sleeping, because the energy of God is no longer there. When you give them mic, they can preach, but they know they don't carry the energy of God. They don't have the stamina to stand in God's presence. There is no fire. You can shout because you have a baritone voice. I will tell you these things. I know it because I've experimented all of them. When you see people who shout, naturally they have a loud voice. So shouting is not necessarily a sign of fire. You can preach loud because you are young and there is so much secretion of adrenaline. But that you are preaching loud and fast does not mean you carry fire. If you want to find out the indicator of the fire of God in a man's life, find out how many hours can he tarry in God's presence. And not just because he's exercising his will, but because he's lost in intimacy. That's a man who is on fire. He stays with God and he loses track of everything. If you tap him, he comes from an encounter, and he can do it as a routine. One of the things that challenged me about Reverend Hughes' life, when we lived together for 2 years, every day 3 a.m. he has woken up every day, and he prays till morning. I say, what is this? Come, what are you doing here? What kind of discipline is this? Are you doing? I'm telling you, every day we will be around praying, sometimes gisting in the parlor. The moment it's 10 o'clock, he say, man of God, good night. I say, wait now, let's complete this. He say good night, because he must wake up by 3 a.m. Even if he doesn't preach for the rest of his life, he's more on fire than many global evangelists, because there is a force of the presence that commands his attention. That's the mystery of high places. The mystery of high places is that they command worship. So a man who understands the workings of his spirit, one of the things that show that is on fire is the pulling power of that spirit upon his soul. There is nothing he can do otherwise. Even if he's in the market, when that time of convergence comes, he will lose taste for everything. He can be in the office. When that time comes, the spirit begins to pull him. His soul can sense the moves and the movement of the spirit. He will pull him from wherever he is. Even if in the midst of a conversation, no matter how sweet he is, when that time comes, his body begins to itch him, because there is another fellowship, the fellowship of the divine. That's a man who is on fire. You are not on fire because you are shouting in church. You are not on fire because when prayer was going on, you carried the plastic chair up. You are not on fire because you are shouting and jumping everywhere. You are just being a young man. When you are 50 years old, you will drop the plastic chair and you will pray to God.